So last night was the annual Met Gala. Apparently it's one of the biggest fashion events of the year. Likely why I don't pay attention to it. It's a bunch of rich people getting together and doing God knows what. I don't know. I'm not a rich person. But this year was a little bit different. Because AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman from New York, was in attendance and had a white dress that said simply, tax the rich. In fact, here's some video from an interview she had.
My God, tax the rich. What a model, AOC. What up? I didn't know you model as well. Wow. Damn.
All right, so, hey, oh, look at that. Tax the rich. Wonderful. So let me just add that before we get into the story, I just want to tell you that the discourse around this has been terrible. I mean, everybody's mad. The internet's mad. Apparently, lefties are mad. Right-wingers are mad. Everybody's mad. Wow. I don't care. Let's just say that. I don't care about the discourse. I think it's like cancer. Okay. But apparently, everybody's incredibly obsessed over this. So now I have to go and dive into this and see what the fuss is about. So she's at the Elite Gala, and she's wearing this dress. She looks very nice. And here's what she posted on Instagram for her reasonings. Quote, proud to work with Aurora James as a sustainably focused Black woman immigrant designer who went from starting her dream at Veli's at a flea market in Brooklyn to winning the CFDA against all odds, and then worked together to kick open the doors to Met. She added, the time is now for childcare, healthcare, and climate action for all. Tax the rich. And added, and yes, before anybody starts wilding out, NYC elected officials are regularly invited to and attend the Met due to our responsibilities in overseeing our city's cultural institutions that serve the public. I was one of several in attendance. Dress is borrowed via brother Veli's. And so, look, this is not even her dress, all right? And it was from an up-and-coming, maybe not up-and-coming, but somebody who has a pretty diverse background. So I don't see the issue here. I mean, in that post, she pretty much preemptively destroyed about 90% of all the ridiculous talking points being used against her. Okay? I mean, this entire situation is the photo shoot all over again. Hey, guys, understand, if you do a photo shoot, you don't keep the clothes. All right? You don't keep the clothes, and you boost. And what she did was she boosted a designer that is a member of a marginalized community. Also, there's no indication that she paid to get in. You know how much it is to get into the Met Gala? $30,000. $30,000. Jesus. That's a lot of money. No wonder you and I, or regular people, can't get in. That is, of course, unless you're invited, which means either somebody paid a ticket for you or whatever. Like regularly, apparently, designers will buy entire tables and they'll go invite people. And she was invited by Aurora James. So, all right, there you go. So now, the best part, though, obviously, is the fact that she goes to this event, which normally working class people are not invited to. But now she's no longer working class. She's a politician. Well, she goes in there and she decides to troll them with tax the rich. Great. I think it's great. I see no problem here. None at all. She also told Reuters on the carpet that she felt that wearing the dress to the gala was important since most conversations about taxation happen among people who are middle class or working class. Quote, I think it's incredibly important because when we talk about supporting working families, and when we talk about having a fair tax code, oftentimes those conversations are happening among working and middle-class people. I think it's time that we bring all classes into the conversation about having a more fair country. All right, great. So now the timing of this, of course, makes sense. Yesterday, House Democrats released a plan to repeal some of Trump's tax cuts on the rich. Now, they would try to raise the corporate tax rate from 21 to 26.5%. I think it's still too low, in my opinion, but understand that this is not something that AOC can do alone. She cannot raise taxes on the rich to what I would love to. You know what I'd like to see? I'd love to see a marginal tax rate of 90% on any dollar over $1 billion. 90%. That's pretty good, right? We're not even close to that. That said, under Obama, the corporate tax rate in 2014, for example, was 39.1%. Obama then made 99% of Bush tax cuts permanent. And then, of course, Trump dropped the tax the tax rate again to 21%. But of course, guys, when we talk about tax rates, understand that what we talk about is the stated rate, not the effective rate. Now, the effective rate happens to be much, much lower, which is why people like Jeff Bezos at Amazon can pay pretty much nothing while riding a dick rocket to space. Okay? So that's how that happens, because, of course, the effective rate usually involves like rebates and loopholes and all these different things that every time they cut taxes, Republicans swear like, oh, no, we're going to close the loopholes. And then they never close the loopholes. And so not only is the lower, the rate lower, but it's also like Swiss cheese. And so they end up paying even less and sometimes a negative tax rate, which means they get a refund from the government. So, yeah, let's have that conversation. Let's talk about taxes. Let's talk about taxing the rich. I'm open to that. And guess what? Now, as a result of this, we are having this discussion. And yet, there are people out there that are screaming that it's performative. Yes. Yes, it is performative. That's the whole point. I think that there are people out there, and whether it be, on purpose, like purposely confusing the two, policy and politics, or just not understanding how that works. I mean, again, politics itself is performative. It's nothing but performative. And understand that, like, you need one to get the other. You need the politics to get to the policy. So what you do is you play politics. You go out, you spread your message, you defend your position, you get the people on your side. You get the, and when you get people on your side, you use that to try to put the pressure on the other politicians that are against you in order to vote in favor of the thing that you were in favor of. So, it's actually pretty effective for politicians. And I know we don't hear this a lot, but it actually is true. Yes, money plays a gigantic role in politics. We need to get rid of all the money, get all the corporate money, get all the union money, get all the private money out to a publicly funded system. But what also works is community engagement. If your congressperson starts getting a flood of calls, asking them to either support or not support something, if enough people call and if enough people hound them, there is a very good chance that they're going to listen and they're actually going to do what you want. That's putting pressure on politicians. That's doing it from the outside. That is grassroots pressure, right? And so understand, like, look, that pressure does matter because these politicians, they want to keep their jobs, generally. Something that's really important to a lot of politicians is being able to keep their job, right? And so, yes, money can buy ads and they can blanket the airwaves and do all this stuff. But without votes, they lose. So you can have all the money in the world, all the money is thrown into your election, but if you get no one to vote for you, well then, all that money was basically wasted. And we looked at that. A great example is Michael Bloomberg. That's really it. Michael Bloomberg dropped millions of dollars on his own campaign. Millions and millions. But he was such an out-of-touch, utter asshole that nobody wanted to vote for Michael Bloomberg. Just ask him what happened. And so money, again, doesn't always win elections. Money doesn't always matter. Again, it does because of what it can do. Money buys messaging. Money plays politics in order to get your position. And also order to spread disinformation against the other candidate. We saw that when the DFMI dropped tons and tons, millions of dollars on Nina Turner's race in Ohio. So that money does have an effect, but again, that is the messaging, and that is essentially playing politics. That's what it is. Again, performative. All this is performative. Overall, if enough of your constituents want you to do a specific thing and you're paying attention and you're holding them accountable, very likely they're going to at least try to do the thing, or they're going to look like they're trying to do the thing. And so that's why, of course, you always have to, yes, hold your politicians accountable to make sure they're at least attempting to do the thing. Now, that message, that pressure, that performative aspect is then supposed to lead to policies being worked on in your behalf, which again, as a result of our system, takes entirely too long to happen. But again, this is how the system was intentionally designed. It was designed to be very slow and deliberative. Overall, you need the politics in order to get the policy. You've got to learn how to play politics. It's almost as if politics itself is dumb, but also really important. Weird how that works out. So now here's the thing, right? So now, again, as I mentioned, holding your politician accountable when they don't do the thing. You also have to understand that politicians, for example, AOC, some of the criticism is AOC wants to tax the rich, but she hasn't done it yet. Why hasn't she done it yet? She says she wants to do this, Joe. She must be lying. It's all performative. Well, okay, well, here's the thing. Let me give you some examples, all right, of criticism towards AOC that I think is unfair. This is Hex, the hierarchy, who said that this dress is, quote, one of the most disgusting things that I've ever seen. While constituents she failed are being evicted or wondering how they're going to eat tonight. AOC out here living large at the Met Gala. Wearing a dress that says tax the rich, but will do nothing to make it a reality. Okay, dude, she's one person. She doesn't have a magic tax the rich button. I wish she did. But that's not the country that we live in. And on the eviction moratorium, what, you want her to like overrule the Supreme Court? On the eviction moratorium? Can she get 50 senators and a majority of House members? Well, look, the House is already on that side of trying to expand the eviction moratorium. How can she herself do those things? Again, she doesn't have power just by herself. That's not how it works. You are outnumbered. Yes, you can do all you can to try to pressure people, to pressure your colleagues, and to play politics. But at the end of the day, this is a numbers game. I mean, again, what the fuck? Like, when did she become the supreme ruler of the United States? I don't understand. Like, what the fuck do you think she can actually do? Another one. Partying with celebrities at an elitist event makes us Dems look awful. Wrote DVRNG The Truth. Uncovering the Truth. Derp. Especially in the middle of a voting rights crisis and women's rights in Texas hanging by a thread. Do better, AOC. Okay, but how? What do you expect her to do? What can she do? On her own. I mean, if you wanted to tweet more, okay, that's fine. But but if she tweets more, she's just being performative and not actually doing the thing. Oh, but if she's not tweeting enough, well, then she doesn't care about that thing anymore. You can't win, honestly. You can't win. Oh, she's not tweeting enough about Medicare for all. And again, that's the issue. And again, if you say that, oh, you're tweeting too much and you're not actually working for the people, again, you can't win. Okay, you can't win. So that's the issue here. So I understand, like, holding your politician accountable, but you also have to understand the limits of people's power in Congress. And look, you can look at this and be like, well, why can't she be Joe Manchin, right? Joe Manchin is like literally holding up the Senate and holding up Biden's infrastructure bill. Hey, that's a fair point. Well, first of all, she's in the House, okay? And the House caucus has already agreed to pass a $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. The party is on board. What's going on here is that Joe Manchin is holding up Biden's agenda that overwhelmingly most Democrats already agree with. And yes, there are some situations where she could exercise some of her own power. The squad could. And if you want to criticize her for that, for not using any sort of leverage that she has, that's fair. That is fair. And again, you just have to look at it situationally and understand what they can and cannot do, and also the politics of the situation. Once again, politics is stupid, but it is important. It is important. So, again, understand that on most issues, AOC is to the left of the Democratic Party. She probably tried to argue to raise the taxes, likely, but was outvoted. Of course, she's outnumbered, or whatever. And understand that progressives in Congress are outnumbered, and numbers do matter. It's not just AOC. I should say it's not AOC or the squad keeping us from better things. It is the rest of the party. It's the Mansions, the Cinemas, the Testers, the Warners, Pelosi's on some issues. Okay? And in reality, those people understand that those people that I just named off are not really the issue. It looks like the Democratic Party is negotiating with itself, but they're not. They're actually negotiating with the Chamber of Commerce. They're negotiating with the donors that own these politicians. Again, you could look at Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin's an empty suit. You look behind him, you might see a giant hand sticking up his ass, because he's a puppet of the donors. And again, I know it pisses people off, but again, performative gestures, I should say, there is a place for performative gestures in politics, because that's what politics is. And it's effective at getting attention to these issues that are important. People are now talking about this. The whole news cycle's on fire over this. And now we're having a conversation. Unfortunately, there are people that take this conversation in ridiculous directions when it should be about, hey, you're right. There's a majority of Americans that want to tax the rich. Okay, now let's have a conversation of what we can put in the bill. Oh, look at that. The Democrats have a bill. Let's see if we can make it stronger. That's the thing. And so, yes, she's right that, we can talk about this all day when we have no power. But she just brought the conversation right to their front door. They can't ignore it. Well, they'll try, but they can't ignore it. In fact, I have a picture of you. Maybe I'm reading too much into this one, but this is an image from the gala. You see that woman's face in the background? She don't look happy. I think somebody might be upset that someone's coming after their wealth. Weird. Again, maybe I'm just reading too much into that one. But again, what effect this conversation is going to have, I can't really say. But that's where we come in, the people, okay? Now, what we can do is we can pressure Democratic politicians who are not in support of taxing the rich. And they're out there. Because again, if they care about their jobs, and if you're in their district especially, they're going to have to respond. And now if you're out of district, they don't give a damn. But if you're in their district, and you're a voter, well then yes, they absolutely are going to care. If enough of you not harass them, sorry. That's a bad word. Bad word. Don't harass them, okay? But if you call them nicely and explain that you are in favor of this certain thing, you're in favor of the infrastructure bill as it is, or, with climate provisions and things like, a higher tax rate on the rich, even adding things like a minimum wage increase into it, human infrastructure, things like that, then you might get somewhere, or at least a little bit further than you would if you were just to complain on Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.